Good evening and welcome back to the channel Health, Wealth, and Wisdom in Black Spaces. That's Health, Wealth, and Wisdom in Black Spaces. I'm your host, Timothy Alexander. And today I want to talk about the book that I read back in the book came out in 1996. I think I read it in 1997, 98. But the book is called The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas Stanley and William Danko. That's The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas Stanley and William Danko. These guys did like 20 years of research. I think they're both PhDs. And they're talking about, they did all this research on the millionaires in America. And I tell you, I think I know I was in my I was early 20s when I read this book, and it just completely, it was like flipping flipping a switch in my head. All the negative stuff I've learned about um, wealth, and it's so here we go. You know, we're gonna look at the book that completely flipped the script, what it means to be rich, the millionaire next door. So think of when you think of a millionaire, you probably picturing a Ferrari, a sprawling mansion, and designer suits, right? Well, the author spent 20 years interviewing actual millionaires and found something shocking. The people who look rich often aren't, and the people who are rich often don't look like it. Most millionaires in America live in middle class neighborhoods, drive used cars, and wear off the rack clothes. They aren't the celebrities on TV, they're the quiet business owners living right next door. The first big lesson is the difference between income and wealth. Income is what you earn, but wealth is what you keep. The authors found that many high income earners, doctors, lawyers, executives, are actually under accumulators of wealth. He and all through the book he talks about UAWs, under accumulators of wealth. They make a lot of money, but they spend it all trying to maintain a high status lifestyle. On the flip side, we have the prodigious accumulators of wealth. He called them Pauls, PAWS. These people might earn less than the high-flying lawyer, but they have a much higher net worth because they play a great defense. Remember what I said during the Super Bowl? Great defense wins championships. They save and invest at least 15% to 20% of their income consistently. And then they go on to talk about the 7 traits of wealth. So how do they do it? The book identifies 7 common traits of these stealth millionaires. They call them stealth millionaires, PAWs. I'm not pronouncing it right. Prodigious accumulators of wealth. They call them Pauls. We don't have time for all 7, but here are the 3 biggest heavy hitters. They live well below their means. Frugality is their cornerstone. That's why I always preach frugality. Frugality. Benjamin Franklin, one of my best quotes, or most I memorize it. Hard work and frugality are the ways to wealth. That Big Ben, that big head hunters. He's on them big head hunters. That was his quote. Frugality and hard work are the ways to wealth. They don't buy things to impress people they don't even like. Number two, they prioritize financial independence over social status. For them, freedom of not needing a paycheck is more valuable than a luxury car. When I see that they prioritize financial freedom, you look at Warren Buffett. He's an outlier. He lives in the same house that he bought back in the 50s. He ain't trying to prove nothing to nobody. He still goes to McDonald's and buy his same thing that he been buying for decades. That a guy can afford pretty much anything. He still it because it is the money is good, but at the same time, it's about the freedom. Number 3, they are self-made. 80% of millionaires in the study were first generation rich. They didn't inherit their money. They built it through discipline. You're probably wondering, am I on the right track? The authors give us simple formula to see if you're a PAW or a UAW, prodigious accumulator wealth or an under accumulator of wealth. Take your age, multiply it by your pre-tax annual household income and divide by 10. So take your age, multiply it by your pre-tax annual household income and divide by 10. Example, if you're 40 years old and earn $100,000, your expected net worth is 400,000. If your actual net worth is twice that number, you are a PAW. If it's half that number, you have some work to do. It's a reality check. It just cuts through the noise of what your bank account looks like today versus what it should look like in the future. So it's just a simple math thing. So once again, take your age, multiply it by your pre-tax annual household income and divide by 10. Example, if you're 40 years old and earn $100,000, your expected net worth is 400,000. That makes you a PAW. One last conversational point from the book, economic outpatient care. This is when wealthy parents give heavy financial gifts to their adult children. The research showed that the more money adult children receive, the less wealth they actually accumulate themselves. It kills the drive to be frugal and disciplined. Real millionaires teach their kids how to be self sufficient, not to rely on a safety net. Uh, the takeaway is simple: trying to look rich and start focusing on becoming wealthy. Stop trying to look rich and start focusing on becoming wealthy. Real wealth is quiet. It's built one smart, it's built one smart, unglamorous decision at a time. Thanks for thanks for living. If you want a deeper dive, I highly recommend you picking up the copy of Millionaire Next Door. Next Door. So, like I say, that's what I preach: frugality. Cut out the conspicuous consumption, especially in the black community, especially in the black community. We have to, and I'm gonna talk about that on another podcast. There's reasons why we do things we do, um, as Black Americans. We have some. I won't say we're not victims. We're survivors of a lot in America. Oppression, racism, you name it, all the isms that have been forcible, but yet and still we survive. So, but yeah, we got to. That's one of the things that I think that's the last thing we need to do is economics. We have, the fight is still going on, but I think that's the next great civil rights for us is economics, getting our economics right, meaning getting our wealth right. I think they did. I talked about it on my very first YouTube. 2053. If we stay on a study came out and we stay on the trajectory that we are on, our our accumulated wealth will be zero by 20 if we stay on the same path. But I believe we're turning the corner. We just got to keep talking about these things and really stop minoring in minor petty stuff and start focusing, start talking about finances, basics of finances, stocks, investing, starting a business, entrepreneurship, saving, and cut out conspicuous spending. And yeah, so check out the book, Millionaire Next Door. Like it's very relevant. It's like it was written in 1996, but it's very relevant today. Like, that's one of the books that kind of took me to that track. I tell you, I bought a Honda Accord, me and my wife, and we kept that thing over 20 years because I believe in that frugality and hard work are the ways to wealth. Um, and I'm gonna say that to the cows come home. A car is a depreciating asset. You can keep a car for decades if you take care of it. So And that same money that you put in a car every 5 years, going and re-upping or getting another car every 5 years, that could be money put in a S&P 500 stock ETF and let it grow. Like if you're listening to this, if you're in your 20s, try to get at least 10K in a brokerage fund and just let it sit and create do a dividend, reinvest, and you can create your own. Like I said, I'm not a financial advisor, but do your due diligence, get into some solid ETFs, and let it just let it go. That's the main thing Warren Buffett do. He just patient. He buys and sit back, buy and hold forever. Find good stock. Look at the stocks that you buy. If you got an Apple Watch, out in 20 years, Apple ain't going nowhere. Microsoft ain't going nowhere. Look for those big blue chips. And then if you want to study up and look and see what's up and coming, by all means. Another good book that talks, like I say, do your due diligence. Another good book talks about this, Peter Lynch. The book is called One Up on Wall Street. Fabulous book. Pretty old, outdated, just the dated just like that. But the stuff I'm teaching is what I call evergreen topics. This stuff ain't changing. Buy good stocks, hold them forever, and let them compound. Compound interest is your friend. You got time, especially if you're young. You got time. If you put that money in there, compound interest is gonna do wonders. Don't take your money out. Just let it ride, because you're gonna have corrections. It's gonna go like that, but leave it alone. Buy good stocks. I promise you'll be fine. But do your due diligence. I'm not telling anybody to go out there and day trade, swing trade. I'm saying I'm a buy and hold, buy and hold. So that's my thing today. Millionaire Next Door. Go get that book. Do a study group with some of your friends, and just it talks about the cars that the most millionaires, the average millionaire in America is the one that owns the local trailer court. The plumbing has a plumbing business. You will never know they worth $1 to $5 million, because they're not flashy. They don't want to be known. They're quiet millionaires. The average millionaire in America is a quiet millionaire. It's not the one riding around in no whatever you want to call it. What's those high price cars, Ferrari and stuff like that. They wouldn't be The average millionaire wouldn't be caught dead in one of those cars. They probably look at them and like them, but they're in the freedom. You pass by them, you won't even think they're a millionaire, but hey, they got time, freedom. So get that mindset. Get away from that conspicuous thinking or conspicuous brand. I gotta have this brand. I gotta have this brand. Look, have some money in your bank account, have some money in your investments, have some rental properties, and live free. Freedom is the key. We've been told so many. There's so many myths in our community. Um, One is the money is the root of all evil. The Bible actually says the love of money is the root of all evil. Not money is the root. Money is an inordinate object. Um, And if you know your Bible, the Bible talks about finances a lot in the Bible. So we as Black Americans, we're gonna get on track. I believe it in my heart, but we got to be pushing. We got to make it cool to want to learn this stuff. Just like we make it cool to do everything else, we are the culture of the world culture. We got to make it cool to want to learn finances, want to learn engineering, STEM, and things of that nature. We got to make it cool. So that's what I want to talk about. I'm saying, staying consistent with this YouTube, but go out and get the book. Millionaire Next Door by Thomas Stanley. His 2 PhDs, 20-year research. Great book. Get your mind right on what it is to be truly wealthy and strive to get to that point. I'm out. I love you. See you next time.